Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Moon Knight, issue number 13. Lucky number 13. Lucky because there's some weird stuff that happens at the end of this comic book that I'm a little bit iffy on. But we'll get to that in a hot minute. For now, let's talk about who made this comic book. We'll go on from there. This issue is called Night Feeders. Vampire story, right? The writer is Jed MacKay, the artist is Federico Sabatini, the color artist is Rachel Rosenberg, and the letterer is VC's Corey Petit. Cover art by Steven Segovia and Rachel Rosenberg. And variant cover artist, only one, by E.M. Geist. Gist. Anyway, that's it. Let's move on from there. So, it's cool, this head of the Vampire Cartel. It's funny, he mentions that there's only one notable exception for who's more powerful than him in the city. I'm hoping he's talking about Count Dracula. I don't know who else he could be talking about offhand, but Dracula's usually in Transylvania or Wachovia specifically, right? So I don't know. It's whatever. I like the idea that Jed is creating new characters. He's making new people that Moon Knight can fight, people who are at least believable. You know, I don't know how powerful this guy is. I don't know if he's going to go Blade 2 and just like his jaw's going to rip open. He's and all sorts of crazy stuff. I have no clue, right? But I like the idea that he's consistently, or at least fairly consistently, making new characters to throw at us because it's something new for us to get into. And it's not the same old, same old. In fact, Taskmaster is in this comic book, and anybody who is a long-time follower of Taskmaster and all of his crazy escapades throughout the Marvel Universe, right? In the comics, at least. They know that there's only one person who Taskmaster fears, and that is, in fact, Moon Knight, and for very good reason. He brings up the idea that he's like an ACP bullet. Cool. I don't know if Jed MacKay, a Canadian, is a handgun enthusiast. It's a possibility. In the meantime, automatic Colt pistol, right? Anyway, back in the day, it would be called automatic if it's an automatic reloader. Nowadays, it's just called semi-automatic because we have fully automatic weapons, and those are rifles and whatnot. So this is a pistol round that just automatically pops up the next one and to be chambered until the magazine is empty, right? And he says I don't remember where it is on the page, but he says something like it's hollow point and all these different things with it. And it's like, that's an interesting take on things. A hollow point is something where you make a little cross on the front of the bullet so that it'll mushroom out. He describes it pretty perfectly in here. Jed does. It'll mushroom out. It's actually, if anybody's curious, it's the reason why we made the M16 instead of continuing with the M1 Garand, which was the bolt action rifle that we used to use prior to that. I think it was bolt action. I've never actually had one. And it's the reason why we won't use the the AK-47. That's the weapon of choice of our enemy. No, more specifically, it's because an AK-47, that'll, boom, take somebody out, right? That is going to take somebody out. Boom, you're done. Bye-bye. It's been nice knowing you, right? The M16, that's, I don't know if I want to call it a more merciful weapon, but it's likely not to immediately kill you. It will stop you. It will put you on your ass if you get shot with it, right? You're not going to keep on running at somebody after you get shot with one of these. It's not just going to go right through you. This is going to drop you on your ass. Also, if it hits in just the right place, center mass, it's going to go through with a little tiny hole like that and come out with a hole like that because it is going to mushroom. It's a 5.56 AP round. Boom, it's just going to go right through you, And instead of killing you, it's more likely to have you wounded so that now other people have to come out and now we can shoot them too. Not the nicest thing in the world, right? But not illegal to Geneva Convention, so there's that. Anyway, I like and an armor-piercing round. That's when they actually come out like this. It's not like an exaggeration. It literally comes out this big. It's like, that's insanity. It goes in as a pebble, comes out as a plate, going at hypersonic speed, right? So that's insanity. But that perfectly describes Moon Knight. He will go in regular. He will come out the size of a freaking plate. He will tear you up. He will leave a hole in your life that the L train could go through. Nice reference. And he doesn't care what it does to him. The whole idea of Taskmaster going up against Moon Knight, he said before, the one person I don't like going up against is Moon Knight. Because when I imitate this person's style or this person's style, hey, I have a slight chance of beating them. When I go up against Moon Knight, it just hurts too much. Because it's always been said, and if you check out my Moon Knight Explained in a Minute video, Moon Knight would rather take a punch that's coming at him rather than duck, because it takes too much time to duck and then throw a punch. He'd rather just take the punch and get his punch in also. I mean, that's the other definition of crazy, right? So the whole psychology of this conversation, I'm telling you, there's a little bit of action in this, throwing vampires into the sun and things like that. There's a little bit of action in here, not a whole lot. This is a comic book you read, an issue that you read, because you need the psychological drama in your life. The conversation that is had in here between Taskmaster and, what's his name, Tudor or something like that, this new vampire lord. It is really fun to have. I've mentioned several times before, it's one thing for a hero to say, I'm this and I'm that and I do this and I do that, you know? If we're about to get into a fight, you and me, and I say, I am 6'5", 250 pounds, and I've lost some weight. And, martial arts since I was 8, 6 years, combat infantry, and I don't know, a whole life of bad attitude and stuff like that, right? If I'm going to cut a wrestling promo, a WWE promo on you before we fight, it's like, yeah, okay, cool. I've been in fights before too. I'm kind of tough too, whatever. Like, small chance, fat chance of me trying to psych you out, right? But if my friend is over here and he's saying, yo, I just want you to know about Bill. Like, this dude's been in the martial arts since he was 8. Look at the size of this guy, right? Like, holy crap, this guy, he's been in the military, you know what I'm saying? And just his whole life, he's had a really bad attitude. I'm saying you might not want to do this. That's a different story. I can't believe I just remembered that whole thing. That's a very different story if somebody else comes up and says that. So having Taskmaster's enemy stating this is fantastic. I loved the dimension of this comic book. And it's still setting up other things also. This was a really good pivot point, right? This could be the beginning, right? 6 issues is usually for an arc. So you got first 6 issues, the next 6, that's 12. Here's issue number 13. Starting off a new arc, starting off a new story, telling something new, getting something started off, and not with a whole lot of action. But setting our minds up for, oh crap, something's about to happen. The conversations about all the people in his life. Again, bringing up Raoul Bushman. If you remember my interview with Jed McKay, he mentioned, something's coming up pretty soon with Raoul Bushman. Holy crap. Finally, they're a new character, or at least I think they are new characters. You guys let me know if you know who Nemean and Nemean, like the Nemean lion, and Grand Mal, if you know who these two are. Very cool designs. For the art, they actually look like, what was it, Wolverine issue number 7 from volume 2. I think it was issue number 7, maybe 8, but I think it was 7, where it was the first appearance of, not Sticks and Stone. Actually, I remember that from Spider-Man comic books. That was kind of cool also. But no, Blood Scream and Roughhouse. That's what it was. This reminds me of their first appearance. And those were amazing characters. They didn't last forever that cool, but they were really genuinely amazing characters. I enjoyed reading any story that had these two in it, right? Go figure, Blood Scream was a vampire, pseudo-vampire of some sort, right? These two showing up. Look, I've tried to look them up. I'm not familiar with them. They must be new characters. Either that or Jed McKay is way better than me at finding these radically different characters who have appeared like once in some other comic book in 1972, right? I don't know. But these are very cool looking characters. If this is indeed a first appearance and it's a first cameo appearance, that automatically bumps up the price of your comic book to, you know, like an extra $5 over cover price. So not too shabby, right? And I always like cameo appearances because they're just a little bit extra. And then the full appearance where they're actually doing things, that's a whole lot more, right? This was good. This was a good comic book. It had, aside from the fact that there's almost pretty much no action in this, there's so much in here. The art, spectacular. I got to mention really quick, I'm really looking forward to the cover of the next issue because you see it at the back of this issue. Looks good, looks good, looks good. And then you see Moon Knight standing in the back. Holy crap, it is gorgeous. Really gorgeous. He's got some kind of a, looks like he's got one of those thumb hooks or a raptor's claw or something like that. Speaking of which, the little bit of action in this comic book, he's using, Moon Knight is using a silver Kopesh. That weapon that he's using comes up and goes forward, the reverse scythe hook. That's actually called a Kopesh. It's an ancient Egyptian weapon. I loved seeing that in there. Anybody who's played Dungeons & Dragons, at least 2nd edition advanced, you know Kopesh. So I was really happy to see it. That was very cool seeing that in here. Jed sticking with the theme. But back to the art. The art in this was exactly what it was meant to be. When there's movement, the characters look a little bit skinnier, right? And there are more angular features in here. When people are just standing, the art, it's awesome. They're just standing there. Colors on the background, the hues that they give the tone. Like, the tone in this comic book is set, as it should be for the most part, by the colorist. Hey, the writer can write gloomy this and dark that and blah, 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 whatever. But you have like a green background with shadows around the back and, you know, all this other stuff. That right there, that's going to set a mood like nobody's business. The inks, of course, help with that too. But that's what's really going to set a tone for the comic book and make you feel the certain way that you want to feel about this book, yeah? But the idea that it's great art when people are just standing around and talking and the details in it are very, you know, fine, very detailed. But when there's any kind of action whatsoever and it's more angular, it looks kind of like that Dragon Ball Z. I almost expect to see those lines going backwards like he's moving faster, powering up. It was really cool. Everything about this comic book, it hit every point that you want to hit, and yet not a lot of action at all. A very rare occurrence, if I do say so myself. I'm looking forward to the next issue. People sneezing outside. I'm going to go tend to that now. And I'll talk to you guys later. Like the video, watch an ad. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.